The phone felt cold against my ear, a stark contrast to the nervous heat building inside me. "Dad," I said, my voice steadier than I expected. "I'm not getting married. I'm calling it off." A heavy sigh came through the receiver. "Liam, what are you talking about? Didn't you and Chloe already plan everything out? Why the sudden change?" A familiar weight settled in my chest, the kind that makes it hard to draw a full breath. I couldn't tell him the whole truth. Not yet. "I realized she's not worth my time," I managed to say. There was a hint of criticism in his voice, the weary tone of a father who has seen this coming. "You were the one who always insisted on being with Chloe, son. You knew she liked your twin brother. Even if you two look exactly alike, your personalities are completely different. Why did you want to take his place, especially since Ethan has been gone for so long?" My mom took the phone then, her voice a welcome comfort. "It's good you're coming back, honey. Sophie from next door is back home. Do you remember how you used to follow her everywhere when you were little?" After hanging up, I walked back toward the hospital room. The moment I stepped through the door, the noise hit me. The room was filled with Chloe's friends, as lively and loud as ever. They had brought flowers and fruit baskets, creating a colorful mountain on the table by the window. I came empty-handed, not having thought to even bring a bottle of water. The chatter stopped as everyone turned to look at me. One of Chloe's friends frowned, her dissatisfaction clear. "Aren't you Chloe's fiancé? You're getting married next month, right? Why would you come to visit without even a bouquet?" A strange sense of amusement washed over me. For the week that Chloe had been in a coma after her accident, I hadn't left her bedside. I'd barely slept or eaten. Those same people saw me then, but now, because I showed up without flowers, they accused me of not caring. Beside Chloe's bed sat a young man I vaguely recognized, a newly signed actor from her company named Noah. He was gently feeding her porridge from a bowl. At the friend's comment, Chloe herself frowned, her gaze landing on my empty hands with clear annoyance. "Why are you so late?" I opened my mouth to explain, to defend myself, but then I just swallowed the words. There was no point in arguing anymore. I glanced around the room, my eyes passing over everyone with a new sense of indifference. I ignored Chloe's question and handed her phone to the person standing nearest to me. "I'm just here to return her phone." With that, I turned and left the room without a second of hesitation or a single pang of regret. The whole thing had started before the accident. Chloe had planned a motorcycle ride with her friends on a notoriously challenging mountain road. I had tried to talk her out of it multiple times, but she just brushed me off. "I know this road like the back of my hand," she'd said, tossing her phone to me. "Just wait for me at the finish line." Then, amid the laughter of her friends, she sped off. Of course she lost control. She crashed hard. By the time the ambulance arrived, she was unconscious. During her coma, I never left her side. I was the one who plugged her phone in to charge it. And, when it finally powered on, a single message notification lit up the screen. It was from her friend, Maya. "When are you going to tell Liam you just see him as a stand-in for Ethan? This isn't right. He's 28. He can't waste his time like this." The words confirmed a fear I had buried deep down. Everyone knew Chloe had been in love with my brother, Ethan. Even I knew. When Ethan went abroad for school, I got a job at Chloe's company, eventually becoming her assistant just to be near her. She frequently flew out to see him, until one day she returned, completely distraught. She had approached me at work, her eyes searching my face. "Do you like me?" she'd asked. I'd blushed and nodded so hard my neck hurt. A faint smirk touched her lips as she seemed to daze off, looking at me but seeing someone else. A car horn from the street below broke the spell. She held out her hand. "Let's be together." Soon after, we got the tragic news. Ethan had been killed during a robbery by a biker gang while he was abroad. I watched the news report on my phone, seeing the shaky footage of a police chase that ended with a grisly scene of bloodstains on the pavement. After Ethan's funeral, Chloe seemed to return to normal, eating and sleeping as usual. People whispered that she'd moved on, but I knew better. She hadn't let my brother go. Holding her phone in my hand now that day in the hospital, I opened her chat with Maya. I had to see it all. Maya: I don't like Liam, Chloe, but what you're doing isn't fair to him. Chloe: How is it unfair? He's the one who wants to be with me. I'm not forcing him. Maya: Ethan adored Liam. If he knew you were playing with his brother's heart like this, he wouldn't forgive you. Chloe: The dead don't know anything. I just want that face. It's so like Ethan's. Maya didn't reply after that. But just moments before Chloe's accident, she had messaged again. And that's when I knew. Chloe had never moved on. Her agreeing to marry me was just a way to keep my brother's face in her life. Back at work, when colleagues asked about the wedding, I forced a smile and said it might be postponed because of Chloe's health. Later that day, I handed in my resignation. A coworker misunderstood, teasing me about office romances being against company policy. I didn't correct him. I just retrieved the form, walked to Chloe's empty office, and left the paper on her desk. The sadness I felt after reading those texts had already drained away, leaving a hollow emptiness. As I walked out, moments from our time together replayed in my mind, vivid but now tainted. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Chloe, annoyed by my absence, soon forgot about me when she saw Maya's messages on her phone. Back at the house we shared, I started to pack my things. Toothbrushes, slippers, pajamas. Everything that marked my existence there went into a box. While packing, my elbow accidentally knocked over a photo frame on my nightstand. It fell to the floor with a dull thud, the dust-covered glass shattering. The ill-fitting photo inside slipped out. As I turned to get a broom, something under the broken glass caught my eye. There was more than one photo in the frame. My heart sank. I had a sick feeling I knew what I would find. I gently nudged the glass shards aside and pulled the heavy frame away. 2 photos lay on the floor. When I flipped them over, my suspicion was confirmed. Behind the photo of Chloe and me was a picture of my brother from his college days. I held the 2 photos up to the light, layering them one over the other. My brother's face perfectly replaced mine. In that moment, a specific memory flooded back. It was the first snowfall of winter, and I was complaining during the photo. "You're not even looking at me," I'd said. "I'm not that tall." Chloe had been lost in the camera's viewfinder, eventually offering a faint, distant smile. "Is that so? Let's retake it then." I slumped to the floor, not even caring about the shards of glass pressing into my palms. I had always thought that for at least a fleeting moment, Chloe had actually liked me, the real me. But I never imagined that even in those moments, her gaze wasn't for me. Suddenly, my phone rang. As I tried to stand, a sharp pain from my hand snapped me back to reality. I struggled to my feet and answered. It was Maya, and it sounded chaotic on her end. I could barely make out what she was saying, but I pieced together that Chloe was causing a fuss, insisting on leaving the hospital to go to some celebrity's birthday party. Hearing this, I irritably dabbed at the blood on my hand with a tissue. "Let her be," I said, my voice flat. "If she doesn't care about her own health, nobody can persuade her." A brief silence followed. I realized it was another test. For years, I had been little more than a nominal boyfriend in Chloe's circle. She loved testing my sincerity, watching me worry over her, an act she seemed to relish. It all dawned on me. It was because I looked so much like my brother. Through my face, she could imagine Ethan's concern for her. But I was done with these cheap, tedious games. Maya was taken aback by my response. I could hear her awkwardly glancing at Chloe, who was pulling the covers aside to get out of bed. "Never mind if he's not coming," I heard Chloe say in the background. "Let's go have fun." Her words were met with cheers from everyone in the room except Maya. Maya wanted to say more, but she realized I had already hung up. Half a month later, Chloe had done nothing to prepare for our wedding. No invitations, no party favors, no dress, no venue. Maya told me she felt sorry for me. Meanwhile, I was at home, disinfecting and bandaging my wounded hand by myself. When I finished, I looked at my half-packed luggage and knew I couldn't manage it alone. I called a moving company. They worked quickly, and 3 hours later all my belongings were loaded onto a truck. I gave them an address. "Deliver everything here." After they left, I walked into the yard with my single remaining suitcase. I deleted my fingerprint from the door lock and left the keys under the welcome mat. Snowflakes began to fall, melting into sparkling droplets on my coat. An urgent ringtone cut through the silence. I looked at the screen. Chloe. This was a shock. In 3 years, she had rarely ever called me, preferring to send curt text messages. I hesitated, then answered. "The usual spot? Come now," she said, her tone impatient, confident I'd show up like always. I leaned back against the wall. "No, I'm feeling sick. Can't drink." There was a pause, and then her tone softened slightly. "It's not for drinks. Some executives are here. They wanted to talk about that project you were working on." It was an excuse I couldn't easily reject. Though I had quit, the project was nearly complete. A success would mean a contractual payout, and I wasn't in a position to turn down money. I took a cab to the place. As I opened the door to the private room, someone hiding behind it threw a handful of creamy cake directly in my face. Laughter erupted around me. The room was buzzing with confetti poppers, shouts, and party horns. It took me a moment to realize I'd been pranked again. Wiping the sticky mess from my eyes, I prepared to lash out. Instead, Noah approached me with a piece of cake. "Liam, it's my birthday. Having cake on the face is a tradition." His sunny disposition was a clear attempt to frame the prank as harmless fun. Losing my temper now would just make me look like a spoilsport. I scanned the room. Everyone had a small smudge of cream on their face, everyone except Chloe. I turned to her, the silent woman in the center of it all. "Where are the executives?" Chloe raised a questioning brow, feigning ignorance. "Who?" Realizing it was another trick, I quietly excused myself to clean up. When I turned on the tap in the bathroom, I saw my bandaged hands. Cream had seeped into the fabric, mingling with blood. I felt completely drained. Facing the mirror, I cautiously unwrapped the bandages, letting the icy water run over my injuries. The pain, I hoped, might keep me awake to the truth of my situation. Linda sat uncomfortably in the main room, refusing a cigarette and swatting it away. Maya saw through her facade. "Go get him," she urged. "At least apologize." Chloe scoffed, masking her anxiety. "Apologize for what? He was late. The partners wouldn't have waited anyway. If it wasn't for me, we wouldn't have gotten the deal. He didn't thank me, and he gave me attitude instead." Maya tried to reason with her. "But he didn't know you secured the deal? He walked in and got a face full of cake. Who wouldn't be mad?" Chloe rarely listened to Maya. She stood up awkwardly, grabbing her phone and cigarettes. "I'm just going out for some air." She found me in the hallway, borrowing a hairdryer from a staff member. I had washed the cream out of my hair, but it was freezing outside. Stepping out with wet hair would be miserable. I noticed Chloe from the corner of my eye, but pretended she wasn't there, focusing on drying my hair in the mirror. She watched my stubborn posture, and for a moment I think she felt like I was different somehow. In the past, whenever I was upset, I would run to her, practically in tears, to complain, but now I was calmly sorting myself out. She walked over and took the hairdryer from my hands. Startled, I quickly dodged her. "No, it's fine. I can do it myself." She snatched it back, her cool fingers brushing against mine. I instinctively pulled my hand away. "What's wrong?" she asked, frowning. "Nothing," I replied awkwardly. "Just tickles." For once, Chloe actually explained herself. "That little star, Noah, is someone my mom pushed on me. It's his birthday, so I had to do something for him." I nodded softly, which she took as a sign of understanding. Standing there was making her legs ache. "Oh, about the wedding," she said suddenly. "I've already asked the factory to make samples for the invitations and wedding favors. Plus, a famous designer from abroad is working on the dress. He'll be here the day after tomorrow. Is there anything else you think we need?" Her gaze locked with my reflection, hoping for some excitement. However, I was worn out. The constant delays and her indifference had killed any desire I had for this wedding. I had already planned to skip out, leaving her to be the town's joke. Thinking of this, I chuckled. "No, nothing's missing. You just go ahead and plan it." Seeing me finally smile, she nodded, relieved. But then she felt something odd and sticky on her hand. Loosening her grip on the hairdryer, she saw unexpected blood on her palm. She paused, then discreetly checked my hand. My skin was pale from being soaked, but my palm was bloodied, with droplets falling to the floor. She placed the hairdryer on the sink. "Your hand." I snapped out of it, saw her worried look in the mirror, and gave a forced smile. "No big deal. Just cut it slicing fruit." Chloe seemed unfazed. "Next time, let the maids do it." What she didn't know was that I had let the maids go. I'd caught them stealing from the house while I was at the hospital with her. "I'll take you to get the cut checked," she offered. I was about to decline when Maya's urgent calls interrupted. We both turned to see her breathless, leaning against the wall. "It's Noah. He accidentally set his hair on fire while lighting his birthday candles. Now he's freaking out in the suite and no one can calm him down. You should check on him." Without a moment of hesitation, Chloe dashed toward the suite. Stella was about to leave when I stopped her, my tone gentle but cold. "Maya, what's the deal with Noah and Chloe?" Maya halted, sighing heavily before turning to face me. "Basically, they're like siblings. Noah's family went bankrupt over 20 years ago, so he stayed with the Harrisons. We all could see Noah liked Chloe, but he stayed abroad until he heard about her accident and rushed back. Chloe's mom arranged for him to sign with her entertainment company. With Chloe backing him, he'd have it easy." It all clicked into place. No wonder Noah was so comfortable at her bedside, feeding her soup. No wonder he dared to smear cake on my face. And no wonder the fastidious Chloe let him do it all. She had allowed it. After dealing with Noah, Chloe remembered me and reached for her coat, but Noah grabbed her wrist. "Ever since I got back," he began, "I've been renting. It's a bit uncomfortable. Can I move back home?" Chloe checked her watch, nodding absently. "Of course you can stay, but Liam and I are getting married soon. It might not be best. If you find a place you like, I'll buy it for you." Noah reluctantly agreed, releasing her wrist. When Chloe's call came, I was just putting my things away in a hotel room. "Where'd you go?" she asked. "Just shopping," I replied calmly. "I'm being discharged today. Will you come pick me up?" "Sure," I agreed easily. After hanging up, I took a cab to the hospital. Once she was ready, we stood at the entrance, a chilling wind blowing around us. "Didn't you drive?" she asked. I nodded, pulling out my phone to call a car. To my surprise, she waited patiently, unlike the tantrums she would have thrown before. Back at the house, she instinctively waited for me to unlock the door. But after a long pause, she saw I hadn't moved. "Left in a rush," I lied. "Forgot my keys." She seemed unsurprised. Inside, the house felt strangely empty to her. "What happened to the maids?" she asked. "Caught them stealing. Fired them," I said, placing her bags down. Just then, there was a knock. I opened the door to find Noah standing there with 7 or 8 suitcases. He bypassed me and went straight to Chloe on the couch. "Chloe, why didn't you tell me you were discharged? I could have picked you up." He leaned his head on her shoulder, acting like an innocent puppy. "I knew you cared for me. You've got the best projects lined up." The cold wind howled outside. I stood by the door, watching them, feeling completely like an outsider. The first time Chloe brought me home to discuss our marriage, her mother had objected immediately. "How many times will you fall for one of the Green brothers?" her father, Mr. Harrison, had demanded tearfully. "What spell did they cast on my daughter?" The dinner fell apart. I was jolted back to the present by their laughter. "I'm heading out," I said. Chloe stood up, blocking my way. "Where are you going? Don't we live together?" I brushed my hair back. "We're not married yet. We shouldn't live together. People might talk." Before she could reply, Noah chimed in. "Liam's right. You don't want him becoming a laughingstock." His eyes met mine with a smug grin. I found it childish. Chloe didn't stop me from leaving. For the next few days, I came over to look at wedding invitations with her. Everything seemed perfect. She felt at ease, noticing how I seemed kinder and more accommodating. It made her look forward to our married life. Then came the wedding day. Noah was strangely quiet. "He took on a period drama," Chloe explained nervously, clutching her phone. "He hasn't replied all morning. I'm worried." She was so busy trying to call Noah that she barely paid me any attention. I didn't care. With only 2 hours until the ceremony, I was just planning my getaway. "What did you say?" Chloe's anxious voice snapped me back. Her fears had come true. Noah had supposedly had an accident on set. The director called, saying he got hurt during a scene. She pressed down on my shoulder, her eyes red. "Sorry, Liam. Noah got hurt. I have to go." "Now?" I asked. "Yes, I'm really sorry. Can we postpone the wedding?" Realizing she was overstepping, she quickly added, "I'll be back by this evening. Please, Liam, wait for me." This was my chance, clear as day. "Sure," I agreed easily. She was surprised by how genuine my response was. "I'm leaving," she said, rushing out. She paused at the hotel entrance, looking back at me, her handsome groom in his suit. She was sure I would wait. As soon as her car vanished from sight, I changed out of my suit, grabbed my pre-packed suitcase, and quietly left. 2 hours later, with both bride and groom missing, the guests were in chaos. Meanwhile, I was boarding a flight, discarding my SIM card and leaving my past behind without a second glance. Chloe, of course, found Noah was perfectly fine. He had faked the whole thing. Furious at his lie, and thinking of my understanding demeanor, she felt even worse. She drove back to the wedding venue, ignoring an enraged call from her father. She found the hall empty and dark, the decorations scattered. She tried calling me, but my number was unavailable. Desperate, she messaged me, but got no reply. She called her HR colleague, who told her I had resigned half a month ago. Shocked, she rushed to the office. Everything of mine was gone. On her desk, she found my resignation letter. The date stamped on it was the day of Noah's birthday prank. She recalled my calm agreement to the wedding delay, the way my things had disappeared from the house. Panicked, she picked up the letter. On the back, in my handwriting, were 3 simple words: "Let's break up." The journey to my hometown wasn't short. My plane hit turbulence and had to redirect, so I didn't arrive until late that night. Emerging from the terminal, I spotted my parents waiting, huddled together against the chill. On the drive home, no one mentioned Chloe. It was as if she'd been erased. In the car, my bank account chimed with a new deposit from Chloe's company, a substantial sum, far more than any salary. Puzzled, I decided to ignore it. Arriving home, the gate swung open. A woman was standing in the living room, a big smile on her face. It was Sophie, the girl from next door. She wore an apron that didn't quite fit and held a spatula. When she saw me, she hurried over to help with my luggage. I was thrown off by the sight of a face I hadn't seen in over 10 years. I regained my composure and pulled my suitcase away. Thanks, but no thanks. She wasn't deterred. When I struggled on the steps, she reached out to steady me. Feeling a bit embarrassed, I mumbled a thank you and walked inside. Liam, have you missed me all these years? It was her father, approaching with a wide grin. When I was a kid, he'd often share their dinner with me and Ethan when our nanny neglected to feed us properly. I smiled, a genuine one this time. Yes, and I still want your braised pork ribs. The dinner conversation eventually veered toward marriage. I quickly downed my food, ready to escape, but my aunt playfully asked, Liam, did you meet any nice girls while you were away? I nodded reluctantly. Yes, but they're not interested in me. My parents exchanged looks. You're almost 29. It's time to settle down. Luckily, Sophie changed the subject, giving me a much-needed break. Later, my father cautiously asked, Do you have any feelings for Sophie at all? I sighed, closing my eyes. I had to be honest. It's not me she likes, Dad. It's my brother. Mentioning Ethan darkened their expressions, and I felt a pang of guilt. Lying in bed that night, I made a decision. I needed my own place. My years working with Chloe had paid off, and I had saved enough to buy a large apartment in a central part of the city, no mortgage needed. House hunting went smoothly. A few days later, returning home, I spotted a new luxury car blocking my driveway. I honked, but it didn't move. I got out and tapped on the tinted back window. It rolled down to reveal Chloe's familiar face. My good mood vanished. Could you please move your car? I said, my voice flat. Liam, she stammered, caught off guard. Why did you leave without a word? We just agreed to postpone the wedding. I didn't want to engage. I called building security. She stepped out, grabbing my wrist. Don't be mad. Come back with me. I looked at her seriously. We didn't register our marriage. We're not legally married. And we're over. Let's not interfere in each other's lives again. She wouldn't let go, asking when we broke up. Just then, security arrived. She doesn't live here, I told them. Don't let her in again. I watched her eventually drive away, frustrated that she had left a pile of expensive gifts that I now had to deal with. I immediately scheduled a courier to send them back to her office, cash on delivery. As I was dealing with that, a familiar figure approached. It was Sophie, holding boxes of festive goodies. Getting ready for the new year, she said with a smile. Just then, a sharp question cut through her cheerful greeting. Liam, who is she? My gaze moved past Sophie to Chloe, who had returned. Her cheeks were flushed, her eyes dazed. She was clearly sick. Sophie, ever kind, tried to help her, but Chloe snapped at her. I stepped between them. If you don't want to die, I told Chloe, my voice cold, get your driver to take you to the hospital. If you want to die, don't do it at my doorstep. With that, I went inside with Sophie. We hadn't walked far when we heard a thud. We turned to see Chloe had collapsed in the snow. We took her to the hospital. Her fever was 102 degrees. We lied and told the doctor we found her on the street. I didn't want any drama, so I used her phone to call Maya. Linda's in the hospital. I said bluntly. Come pick her up and take her back. I hung up before she could ask too many questions. I noticed she had me pinned in her contacts, a small gesture I once begged for that she had dismissed. A message from her, unsent, read, "Did you stop wanting me?" Just then, a call came in from Noah. I accidentally answered. Frantic, he called for Chloe. I shouted into the phone, "Stop calling! Chloe's sick and unconscious. You and Maya should come get her." Then I hung up and returned the phone to her bedside. "That's Chloe, right?" Vivian asked quietly. I nodded. They had both chased after my brother, so it wasn't surprising she recognized her. Back at my parents' house, I stopped Sophie at the door. "I think we should clear things up," I said, taking a deep breath. "If you see me as a stand-in for my brother, like Chloe did, then this can end right now. I'm not a substitute. I'm just Liam." Sophie just smiled warmly. "Is that it? I've never seen you as anyone's substitute, Liam. I like you for you." Her words should have been a relief, but they felt like a lie. "You're lying," I snapped, startling both of us. Without giving her a chance to argue, I shut the garden gate, leaving her standing there, confused. For the next few days, I stayed home. My parents, worried, started pushing profiles of potential dates on me. To get them off my back, I agreed to go on one. Heading out the next day, I ran into Sophie's father, who tricked me into dropping off a folder at her office, which just so happened to be near the coffee shop where my date was scheduled. The date was a disaster. The woman was abrasive, firing off a list of demands about my financial status. When I tried to leave, she grabbed me and tried to slap me. Without thinking, I grabbed my hot coffee and splashed it on her face. As I ran for the door, I ran straight into someone else. Chloe. Before she could speak, the coffee-stained woman charged at me, screaming insults. Chloe immediately stepped in front of me to block her. A scuffle broke out, and soon Maya and Noah rushed in. Noah, seeing a bruise on Chloe's hand, turned on me. "You left, remember? Why come back into her life? If you're leaving, do it right." Annoyed, I snapped back. "All you do is cry? Can't you be useful for once besides playing the third wheel?" The words hit their mark. Noah went pale with anger. I dealt with the screaming woman, agreeing to pay for her ruined suit just to get rid of her. Once we were alone, the tension faded. "Thanks for stepping in," I said to Chloe. "Who was she?" she asked cautiously. "A date set up by my parents," I said bluntly. I hesitated, then finally decided to tell her about breaking the picture frame. I didn't mention seeing Ethan's photo, but Chloe was smart. I saw the realization dawn on her face. She knew that I knew. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her apology abrupt but sincere. I smiled, feeling a sense of relief. "It's okay. It's all in the past." She looked like she wanted to say more, but her voice was filled with intense sincerity. "Liam, give me a chance to pursue you all over again. I was wrong, terribly wrong, and I want to make it right." A hint of surprise flickered in my eyes, but I calmly shook my head. "No need, Chloe. We're good like this, without bothering each other. If possible, I really hope we never see each other again." As I finished speaking, I spotted Sophie at the door. A soft smile spread across her face as she walked confidently toward me. "I'm done. Ready to go home?" she asked, as if I'd been waiting for her all along. I picked up my bag and stood. "I'm heading out," I told Chloe, who could only nod reluctantly. Sophie and I left together. In the car, she asked about my disastrous date, a flicker of amusement on her face as I complained. Back at home, we finally exchanged contact information. Later that night, alone in my brother's old room, I found it. A light blue envelope sealed with a snowflake wax stamp, tucked away in a book. It was a letter from Sophie, written over a decade ago. It was a love confession and an invitation to go abroad with her, an invitation my brother had hidden from me. The next afternoon, I learned Chloe was awake after surgery for her injuries from the firework incident on New Year's Eve, an incident where Noah, in a jealous rage, had tried to hurt me, and Chloe had gotten burned protecting me. When Sophie and I reached the hospital, we overheard Chloe's father, Mr. Harrison, ordering that all of Noah's projects and endorsements be cut. He was suing him for intentional harm. When we entered the room, Mr. Harrison looked at me. "The wedding day was chaos," he said, his voice surprisingly level. "But if you still want to come back, we can set a new date and redo the wedding." If I had heard this offer a year ago, I would have jumped for joy, but now it meant nothing. I looked at Sophie, then turned and grasped her hand, feeling her fingertips tremble before she tightened her grip. "Mr. Harrison," I said, my voice firm, "I've already found the person I truly love, and I won't be coming back." I looked at Chloe, whose head was bent low. First, we weren't marrying for business. Second, the wedding wasn't my decision to call off. Chloe knows the reason better than anyone. As Sophie and I left the hospital, hand in hand, she looked at me, her eyes giddy. "What you just said, was it true?" "Yes," I nodded, without hesitation, and for the first time in a long time, everything felt right. Our wedding was set for a sunny day in April. The planning was filled with laughter as our families gathered, sharing childhood stories. The night before, coming home to our newly finished house, I met my neighbor, an older aunt who told me about a woman who used to stand outside for hours before the new year, just watching my house. "She hasn't been around recently, though," the aunt said with a laugh. I smiled, a knowing sadness in my heart. "She won't be coming around anymore." The wedding day was grand. From a distance, Chloe stood and watched me in my crisp suit, smiling brightly at my bride as we left in the wedding car. Her legs started moving on their own, following us until she abruptly stopped. She knew she had no right to be there. The April sunlight was painfully bright, bringing tears to her eyes. Everyone was at the wedding. She got in her car and drove to the venue, but didn't go in. From inside the car, she took out an envelope and placed a bank card inside. Lost for words, she simply wrote, "Congratulations on your wedding," on the envelope. She called a delivery service. "Take this to the wedding check-in," she instructed. "Record the entire delivery and I'll tip you $1,000. The delivery guy asked for a name. Chloe paused, then managed a sad smile. "Just say it's from a former colleague." After, she boarded a plane back to her own city. On the flight, she replayed the video the delivery guy sent, her vision blurring with tears each time they dripped onto her phone screen. Now, separated by mountains and valleys, she and I would never cross paths again.